You're listening to the ProcureTech podcast, your weekly show for all that's cooking in the digital procurement space. Yes, we've got the hottest startups, thought leadership, and conversation from visionary industry experts, and definitely no stiff corporate content. I'm your host, James Meads, procurement pro, digital nomad, and ProcureTech fanboy. And now, here's this week's show. Yes, greetings and a very warm welcome to the show. You're listening to the ProcureTech podcast, the weekly show that brings everything that's fun, innovative and exciting in the procurement space, and we're definitely not going to send you to sleep. We're going to continue this week with our series on e-sourcing platforms, bringing an insight into how different startups out there are approaching the e-sourcing conundrum through a different lens and with different offerings. And that really makes a very exciting ecosystem in what has become, in all fairness, quite a crowded space. So this week is the penultimate one. We've given you 3 already. We've got this one, then the final one next week. This week, we're going to be talking to pretty well-established startup actually in this space, whose philosophy really is about giving quick and simple access at affordable prices to an e-sourcing tool that can actually do quite a lot. And then through the different modules that they have in addition to that, it gives you sort of plug and play, pick and mix, pay as you go type of functionality around what you can add to it at any given point in time. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce this week's guest, who is Nic Martin from Market Dojo. Welcome to the show.
Hi, James. Great to be here.
And thank you for joining. So Market Dojo's been around a while. You started out in 2010, and over time, you've slowly added features and expanded product range to move, I guess, from a simple e-sourcing tool to be kind of a mini vendor management suite. But I guess at its core, based on your marketing and what you put out there, you still see your USP as being a user-friendly, comprehensive e-sourcing tool, but with some add-ons that customers can take advantage of as their digital procurement journey begins to mature. So maybe let's start off, if you can just introduce the solution and what you see as some of the USPs out there that differentiate yourselves from the competition, and then we can dig into some of the ethos of how you see the customer and stakeholder experience of e-sourcing tools with what you're doing.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Market Dojo provide on-demand e-sourcing solutions to help procurement teams of all sizes manage supplier information and negotiate more effectively. So what that means really is that we've got quite a wide range of customers, I would say, and we're trying to provide solutions that will allow them to very quickly and easily get the results that they're looking for. So some of the ways that we do that are through the fact that we're on demand. We've got quite a unique pricing model so that you can use this, just for a single event if you wish, so that you can apply Market Dojo, in that particular situation, and you don't have to worry about signing a lengthy contract. And then the software itself, from the get-go, we've really looked at some of the B2C tools like Amazon, maybe, going back now 10 years and seeing how easy they are to use and trying to apply that kind of approach to e-sourcing. And of course, nowadays, I think that's something that we're seeing right across the market. But 10 years ago, it was kind of unique.
When I interviewed Jack from Deepstream a couple of weeks ago, he said kind of the same thing. This sort of focus on user experience and treading that tightrope between stripping out features in favor of having a good UX. What's your philosophy on that?
I think we when we started, obviously we had a very stripped back solution, and we have added things, over the course of our development. So where we try and add things, we're very customer focused, and I think most organizations would say that, but we really try and listen to what the customers are asking for and make sure that we build those things into the solution. And that can be challenging sometimes, because I think customers will tell you a lot of things that they want. And sometimes the challenge is knowing what not to build as much as what to put into the product. So we try and look for where those common themes are and add the features that we know are going to help lots of people rather than be just appropriate for one person. So we're trying to build a platform that is going to serve a lot of customers. And where that complexity comes in, I think one thing we do to try and manage the amount of different options that people have to choose from is try and apply sensible defaults. So for example, if you're setting up an auction, there's several different auction types that you can choose from. We've got open, ranked, or a Japanese auction that you can choose from. But we'll recommend actually ranked, because in most circumstances, rank's the right one to go for. So by giving them the option to choose things, if you're a slightly more experienced user and you know that you want a specific kind of auction, then that option's there. But we'll also try and show the kind of the best option for you to use if you're not sure.
And that's an interesting point, actually, because even though you're focusing on making it easy to use, it does actually offer a lot of functionality in terms of the different types of sourcing events, doesn't it? Maybe just walk us through what it can do in terms of the different types of auctions and RFPs before we go any further.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the way I think about it is in terms of how the product's evolved. So where we started was with our core product. Where it started was with e-auctions, and that's still a big part of what we do today. We really believe in e-auctions and the benefit that they bring. But then once we had the auctions piece in place, customers started to ask for the RFQs as well. So we can also support RFQs, which is just a single bid rather than many bids coming in.
That's more on the tail spend side, you mean, or?
Yes, on the tail spend, but we also see this being used on quite strategic projects as well.
Okay, just as a one-time buy that's maybe quite a big piece of capex or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there we added questionnaire functionality. So one of the criticism leveled at e-auctions is that they're very price focused, and so through using a questionnaire you can actually start to weight that price, so to factor in other considerations such as the product quality or the delivery timescales, anything you can think of that you might want to consider. And that questionnaire weighting can actually be applied live during an e-auction or during an RFQ. So the suppliers are actually getting feedback on their combined score of their questionnaire and their price as well, which is very important for a lot of our customers. It's not just about price in many cases. From there, then I think in the e-sourcing module, the other big innovation that we've added is something we call advanced lots. So if you're using Market Dojo for the first time, you're probably going to create a lot structure where you've got one price per line item, per thing that you want to purchase. But with advanced lots, you can actually collect multiple prices. So, for example, understanding it at a much deeper level of detail, exactly what the offer that the supplier is giving you. So, what's the factory cost? What's the delivery cost? How are they going to ship the product to you? Are there other costs that you want to factor into the final cost? So with advanced lots, you can build all that information into your lot structure.
So having that kind of waterfall or cost breakdown to understand what the end price is made up of, you mean?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. So it means that you've got all that information at your fingertips without having to resort to sending out a spreadsheet for people to fill in all that detail afterwards. You've got it available.
The fact. Yeah, got it. Yeah. So just a quick interlude, because there are a couple of things that I really want to make you aware of, because I think they will be valuable for you. So number one, we now have a monthly newsletter where we bring you curated content of everything that's happening in the digital procurement space. If you want to get that, just head to procuretechpodcast.com /newsletter. Enter your name and email, and we'll get that delivered straight to your inbox. Number 2, if you're a head of procurement or a center of excellence leader, and you're perhaps a little bit confused or overwhelmed with what's out there as best of breed digital procurement technology, especially if you're a mid-sized business, schedule a call with me. There's a link at the bottom of the show notes in this episode. Just hit that schedule a call link and we can have a quick chat to understand your challenges and what potential solutions out there may be suitable for your organization. And now let's get right back to this week's show. You mentioned earlier, with your pricing model and the flexibility around that, you've kind of got a sweet spot where any independent consultant or SME can use your software on a pay as you go or pay as you use basis. But then at the same time, there is an argument to say it's also feature rich and comprehensive enough to have something that has a value proposition to much more mature procurement organizations as well. What kind of challenges does that give you in terms of sales and marketing? I mean, I guess by that, I mean, if you try to be everything to everyone, you run the risk of being nothing to anybody.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think, having, when we went to trade shows in the early days and we were talking to different kinds of customers, it could be quite challenging trying to figure out what aspects of our product set we should be talking to them about, because there are some different ways it can be used by different people. And I think that was one of the challenges, making sure that we've got the right solution for the customer and that we can put that across in the right way. I think the reason we've ended up there is because of that way we listen to customers, and I think that's been really important, and it's given us lots of very useful feedback, lots of ideas that we then had to prioritize. And I think that's one of the first challenges, is that when you've got those different types of customers, it can be that you get lots of different ideas that some things won't be applicable to a certain kind of customer. Whereas, for example, an independent consultant might be really interested in having a lot of different e-auction types available to them, because they're running these e-auctions on a very regular basis, and they'll know with a lot of detail the different types of auction that might be applicable in a particular situation, as opposed to maybe an SME, they're dipping their toe in the water and they'll need a lot more help to understand how to run the auction, and they want things to be nice and simple and straightforward and not necessarily want all that choice. So that's one of the first challenges, I think, is having that variety of customers and making sure that we can give them the solution that fits for them. And I think then a second challenge with that varied customer base, both in terms of industry and size, is for the marketing team kind of getting that message across of the benefit. So our first customer was an engineering company buying machine parts, and around that time I'd been reading a book called Crossing the Chasm, which is all about how to build software products. And the recommendation there is that you nail a niche, you find a particular market which your product suits well, and then you build within that. And unfortunately that wasn't to be for us, because I think our first that first engineering company, they were delighted with the results and they immediately wanted us to build something additional. They wanted the RFQ feature built out, and then our second customer was in a completely different vertical market. So it was quite challenging to serve all those different customers, but I think there are some common themes in there. And the benefit that it's given us now is that we've got a solution that we know how to apply in lots and lots of different situations. So advanced lots that I mentioned earlier, for example, we've seen users, you've seen our customers use it across a whole real wide range of different tenders. So from global freight to bill of materials and even fruit and vegetable purchasing. So I think that's been a challenge, but we can see a benefit to it as well. And the third thing that springs to mind, I think, is being a best of breed solution. So, particularly at the enterprise end of the market, we've got larger customers with more complex requirements, and these could favor a single suite rather than a best of breed product like Market Dojo or Mini Suite, as you put it earlier. And that's fine. Sometimes a single suite is the right solution for that customer or that prospect. But we also see now, I think, one of the ways that we can kind of address that is that, the best of breed approach does seem at the moment to be gaining a bit of traction. And we are seeing success where we can offer a solution that meets those larger customers' needs, which is, made up of Market Dojo plus maybe one or two other partner companies that can address some of the parts of the requirement that we can't hit. So, yeah, I think there are some challenges, but there's also, some benefits to having that variety as well.
And with best of breed, there is naturally going to be a need to do other things as well, because what best of breed is, it typically solves one challenge and does that very, very well. Yeah. But there's always going to be a limitation, isn't there, of how many best of breed solutions you can mesh together without the whole thing falling apart. And that is one of the advantages of suites. They do that very well, but the flip side is they don't do any single one thing, particularly world class. And I think it's, as a customer, you need to know what you want to be able to determine which route to go down. And, I'm obviously a fan of best of breed with what I do on the podcast, but I acknowledge that if you're an enterprise level customer, a suite may be a better idea because your processes are that complex that having one single source where you can go in as an entry point and then maybe bolt a couple of solutions onto it is possibly a better route to go down. Whereas if you're a mid-market company, then, if you've already got an ERP system, you can probably do what you want to do with best of breed in terms of where your most urgent requirement is. You've built additional features and modules based on customer feedback. So it's been quite organic how you've grown from being a pure play e-auction or RFP solution to become this sort of, mini suite, or certainly a more expanded e-sourcing solution with, things like contract management and supplier onboarding. What did you take on board then as you listened to your customers? How did that journey typically go?
We definitely are shaped by our customers. And for example, the supplier onboarding solution was something we created I think about 7 years ago. So we had a customer that came to us, PHS, and they saw the Market Dojo solution as it was then for sourcing. And they said, look, we like the solution, but actually our biggest challenge is with the supplier onboarding. And it was an obvious problem for them. And when we looked at the problem, we recognized that they weren't alone in having that problem. And the great thing about PHS was they saw the opportunity to use the solution we had already, and with some changes, with some adaptions and modifications, actually to use that for the supplier onboarding. And by working with PHS, we really, we got a lot of benefit from that relationship, because they had the experience of supplier onboarding. They've been doing it for a long time with paper forms and Word documents and so forth. So they knew some of the pitfalls, and we were able to use their expertise to make sure that the solution worked well, not just for them, but for the other customers that had a similar pain. So that's worked really well. But there have been also occasions when we said, no, this is just too far outside of our vision for us to pursue, and we're going to have to say no on this occasion. So I think what's been important is, yes, listening to customers, but also having a really strong vision of where our boundaries are, and having a solution for the things outside those boundaries. So, where perhaps our mini suite doesn't offer a solution. So a great example is with Parangusta and their pipeline and savings modules. We can recommend and we can integrate with partners. And also, we've got a simple contract management solution. So if your contract management requirements are just around the storage of contracts and notification about expirations and things of that nature, that's great. Use Market Dojo. But if you've got a more regulated environment or a need for something which supports contract authoring, then perhaps you would want to talk to one of our contract management partners and plug in that module there. So I think the answer is that, the important thing for us is to have a strong vision of where we do and don't provide a solution.
And that's important to recognize and be self-aware enough to be able to acknowledge that, because inevitably you can't do certain things as good as, single best of breed solutions are going to offer. And if you're trying to build all of these things as additional modules, you're going to hit the wall at the end. So, I mean, it's, that's interesting to know that you have an active strategy of partnering with other solutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the model that you're offering, then, with the flexibility that offers in terms of the entry point and then being able to add on modules if and when you need them, if you're not necessarily then getting long-term contractual commitments off all customers, obviously as a customer, I think that's great, but does it then give you headaches in terms of being able to accurately forecast revenue, and does that then impact your R&D or your staffing?
Not really. I would say no. I mean, you're right. We have customers that will come and will use us on a one-off basis and then not continue. I think the way we look at that part of the market is probably the same way that a business to consumer company treats their free plan. It's a great entry. We don't want to do it for free because we want to see some commit from customers. Quite often that'll be an e-auction event or some kind of similar exercise. And in those kind of circumstances, as you know, James, you need to put in the effort to get the results. So you need clear specifications. You need a number of suppliers to participate. So we don't do it for free because we see it as an indication that the customer's got a commitment to making a success, but we don't necessarily aim to make a big profit at that point. What we're trying to do is prove that Market Dojo is going to bring some value and deliver results for that customer, and then hopefully they will see and want to continue and perhaps buy a year license or perhaps continue with us in some other way. So I would say it's not really a big challenge, not something that keeps us awake at night. Mind you, I guess you might get a slightly different answer from our sales team, in terms of trying to manage all those different customers and prospects and so on. But for the organization, I would say no.
And yeah, that's a great point, actually. That plays into the whole Seth Godin marketing philosophy of getting your customers to be your biggest evangelists, and then ultimately it helps you save on sales and marketing costs in the long run, I suspect. Yeah,
absolutely. And the whole organization's kind of quite focused on that. So we have some across the organization some objectives to get good customer feedback. We use a site called Capterra, where customers can use reviews, and across the organization we try and make sure that where we are making our customers happy, we can get them to talk about it.
So last question, Nic, if just tell us a little bit about your future plans, and then if anyone wants to get in touch and maybe sort of see a demo or learn a bit more, what's the best place that they can do that and get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of future plans, I think we'll be, we've got quite an ambitious roadmap. And as I said, we've got a vision of the things we want to add. So we're working to fill out that vision. And some of the things that will include is much more of the integration side of things to allow us to integrate with a wider range of solutions. And I think, integration is going to be a big part of everyone's future, and just making those more plug and play and easy to set up. And I guess on the contact side, if people have been interested in what they've heard today, then please take a look at our website. That's marketdojo.com, or even email us. The address is on the website as well, but info@marketdojo.com. And I'm available in the usual places, LinkedIn and so on. I'd love to hear.
And I will link to all of that in the show notes. Nic, thank you for coming on the show today and telling us a little bit more about the history and what you've got planned, and how flexibility really is at the core of what you do. It's certainly an ethos that I live by as well. And wish you success.
Thanks very much, James. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So flexibility, plug and play, pick and mix, pick and choose, whatever you want to call it, pay as you go. I do really like that model. I'm a real fan of that model. And it's great to hear how Market Dojo have been able to monetize that and make it a success, really, and still sort of add on features and add to their product as time has gone on. Just a quick couple of things before we sign off. If you like the show, then don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and hit the subscribe button wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, so as you get a notification every time we release a new episode, which is of course on Wednesdays. I appreciate you listening to this podcast because I know there is a lot more competition out there now, and they're pretty good actually. A lot of the shows that are out there, I listen to them too. So thank you for inserting us into your earballs today. Look after yourselves, take care, and I will speak to you again next week. Bye for now.